Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomena, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X-Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light. Welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show with Gwilda Wiyaka, bringing together today's leading experts to uncover ever-deepening spiritual truths and the latest scientific developments in support of the evolution of humankind. For more information on Mission Evolution Radio with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit www.missionevolution.org. And now, here's the host of Mission Evolution, Miss Gwilda Wiyaka.
Hello, dear friends. This is Mission Evolution Radio Show, where we share innovative thoughts with today's leading scientific and esoteric experts, supporting the path to unity and enlightenment. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. In this hour, we'll be exploring Neither Awake Nor Sleeping, the creative power of liminal dreaming. Whether we remember them or not, everyone has dreams. Our health and longevity depend on it. Many of us give dreams and dreaming little thought beyond shrugging off vaguely remembered snippets as just a dream. Yet there's much more to dreams than we may think. Some sources say there are over 10 kinds of dreams. Locked in our dreams is much of our inspiration and creativity, as well as precognition. During the deep shifts and transformation we're now facing, we could all use inspiring concepts to solve the many problems we're confronted with, or a glimpse of the future to chart our course in uncertain times. What types of dreams are there? How can we tap into the hidden potential of our dreams? What is liminal dreaming, and how can it aid our evolution? With us this hour to explore the land of dreams is Jennifer Dumpert. Jennifer is the author of Liminal Dreaming, Exploring Consciousness at the Edges of Sleep, and a San Francisco-based writer and lecturer. She's the founder of an international organization that explores the phenomenological experience of dreams as a means of experimenting with mind. Her website, urbandreamscape.com. Jennifer, thanks for joining us on Mission Evolution.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Jennifer, you're going to have to, discretion being the greater part of valor here, you're going to have to pronounce the name of your organization for us.
Oneironauticum. I realize it's a difficult name.
Gesundheit. So how'd you become interested in dreams?
I've always been a very vivid dreamer, and a lot of my earliest memories are dreams. I also studied religion and myth and was fascinated by the way that people find meaning in dreams, in the way that people express their religiosity, their spirituality, their inner world through their dream work. I mean, dreams are on this edge between kind of our personal experience, because they're so intensely personal, and yet this deeply common experience. Everybody who has ever lived dreams. So they're just a fascinating way of thinking about mind, of experiencing mind, and of looking at how people um, consider mind, spirituality, religiosity, etc.
So, what is your educational background in dreams and dreaming?
Well, my educational background. I mean, I did my undergraduate and my master's and my doctoral work on my BD in religious studies, and so it was much more general, and myth mostly is what I was studying. And as part of that, I really became fascinated in dreams. And when I was living in New York doing my master's, I got involved with the Jungian Institute, had the archetype, the Institute for Research in Archetypal Symbolism, and I got involved in that. And just sort of as part of that, dreams were part of the story. And so it was both an objective and a subjective interest, both studying and also experiencing, because for me, dreams have always been incredibly vivid. And wait, I mean, if you were in your introduction there, you were saying that people often shrug them off, and that's so fascinating to me, because a huge amount of the experience that we're having is dream life, and yet we often discount it. And to discount such a huge swath of experience seems so strange to me.
It does. I mean, we spend so much of our time sleeping and dreaming, and yet we just ignore it. And, that's always amazed me. Now, what different types of dreams are there?
So there are, and so some scientists will disagree, but there are 5 stages of sleep. So there's the hypnagogia is the beginning, and the ends are hypnagogia and hypnopompia. And those are the 2 dream states that make up liminal dreaming. And in both of those dream states, you're simultaneously awake and asleep. And then there's, after hypnagogia, as you're falling asleep, there's theta, which is stage 2, and then there's delta, which is deep sleep, and there's REM, which is what most people think of when they think of dreams, and then there's hypnopompia. But in these 5 stages of sleep, we actually dream in all of them, not too much in theta. In theta, we have something called dream mentation, which is more kind of like a thought. But otherwise, we dream in the other 5 stages of sleep, and there are different kinds of dreams that we have in each.
Well, I'm going to ask you something that you may or may not be familiar with, but across the ages, for 60,000 years, shamanism has been on the planet, and it uses, and it's in every nationality, and it uses a form of interactive dream. Where does that fit in there? Do you know?
Well, I do actually write about shamanism in my book as a bit as liminal dream phenomenon, because, the traditional role of the shaman is to go into other realms, to cross, the barriers that most of us can't cross, go into other realms and bring back wisdom or teachings for everybody. And shamans traditionally lived on, sort of on the edges of settlements, etc. And so the idea that you're going into a liminal zone to bring back wisdom, which is something that is traditionally like in traditional indigenous cultures, that's something people often were doing in liminal dream states. Like the idea that you can be both awake and asleep, for example, which is what is happening in liminal dream states, is definitely a realm for shamanic wisdom.
So is a liminal dream state kind of like a trance? It sounds like it can. How does it relate to interactive dreaming?
So I think so. So liminal dreaming are a lot. They are a lot of things. So liminal dream states, which are the ones that happen between awake and asleep, when you have kind of these swirling, non-narrative dreams, there doesn't tend to necessarily be sort of self and other. And in liminal dream realms, you can talk to somebody who is awake, or even in liminal dream states, as you're talking with other people, you can talk to other people from these states. And a lot of things when people are talking about the sort of more mystical experiences that happen in dreams are happening in these spaces. So I think trance, yes, often is, there is kind of a hypnagogic phenomenon, or out of body experiences. So Bob Monroe, who of course, Robert Monroe Institute, he famously coined the phrase out of body experience. He believed that you had to get to hypnagogia in order to have a certain percentage of people who come to my workshops come for that reason. In order to achieve an out of body experience, you had to go into a hypnagogic state first. I mean, there's the realm of traditions that are saying to go into trance, to get the out of body experience, to travel to other realms, whatever. These things are often accessed via hypnagogic dream space. I mean, partly I think because by definition, it's a neither here nor there. It's, liminal. The word liminal comes from the Latin word limit, Latin word limen, which is where we get words like limon, and it means in between space, like a threshold or a doorway. It's a space that's both here and there, neither here or there. And liminal zones are an essential part of what we're talking about when we're talking about things like trance or shamanic experience, or out of body experience.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what Edgar Casey was doing then, doesn't it?
Yeah, and all sorts of manner. What makes you wonder what people were doing, or makes you wonder, contacting the Enochian angels. Was John Dee in kind of a liminal dream space? I mean, I use a form of automatic writing as part of my liminal dream practices, which is something I kind of caged from, John Dee's communications with the Enochian angels.
It's amazing, and we're about out of time for this segment. But one thing I'd like to address is, okay, we can access information in liminal dreaming. Can we affect a change on reality from the same space?
Oh, for sure. I mean, and in part because you're going into these zones where you have access to the visionary.
What do you mean by access to the visionary?
So the visionary experience, I think, comes to in a certain part from our own unconscious. And yet when we delve into the unconscious in REM dreams, for example, or in trance experiences, sometimes it's difficult to remember what happened. And in liminal dream space, you go into the visionary space of the unconscious, and yet your conscious mind remains online. And so you can actually observe the experience, remember the experience. You can bring it back into the daytime world.
How close is that to daydreaming?
It's actually fairly different. Daydreaming, when you're daydreaming, you're really staying in the daytime rational mind, and you're drifting. But in liminal dream space and hypnagogia and hypopnea, you're actually partly asleep and dreaming. I mean, you're partly like you're seeing into the realms of the unconscious, and yet you're seeing it with daytime mind.
We're going to have to pick up on this on the other side of a commercial break. Jennifer and I will return shortly, so don't go away and don't fall asleep. You're listening to the Mission Evolution Radio Show, coming to you on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. It's hard to listen to the news without realizing we're living in volatile, unprecedented times. Yet never has there been such an opportunity to transform the human condition. As old structures fail, where can we find the guidance to co-create a better way? Find Your Path Home is an ever-evolving, leading-edge information, education, and healing resource center designed to support and guide you on your path to unity and enlightenment. Based on sound principles employed by shaman worldwide, we provide techniques that can support you through the current transitions, offering online shamanic classes, international long-distance shamanic healing sessions, complimentary Mission Evolution radio episodes and Stairway to Heaven TV vignettes, seminars, retreats, and much more. All of this can be found on findyourpathhome.com.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me. simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
Welcome back. This is the Mission Evolution Radio Show, missionevolution.org. We're dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. Our guest this hour is Jennifer Dumpert. Her website, urbandreamscape.com. Jennifer, as we were speaking, it occurs to me that we're always kind of sliding in and out of various stages of dreaming, from daydreaming, where we're perfectly conscious, into the subliminal stage. Is there anything in between the two?
You know, I don't think so. I think that it's pretty easy to have a slide from daydreaming into liminal dreaming. I mean, for me, liminal dreaming is really a practice, and I will often just lie down and slide into a liminal dreaming state. But I think you're right that we're sliding in and out of states of consciousness all of the time. And part of what I've really enjoyed about this as a practice is becoming aware of that. You know, I mean, I think in daydreaming, we're also partly in objectively in a brainwave state of theta, which is where really deep meditators go as well. And in a sleep cycle, you would go from a hypnagogia into theta. I mean, our minds are careening around into different states, or very, very awake and engaged versus relaxed, you know, and are also different brainwave states. You know, and states of consciousness don't necessarily only map onto brainwave states, but it's interesting. I mean, you can objectively measure brainwave states and see how much people are actually sliding around among different states all day long, for sure.
So is that by EEGs?
Yeah, that's by EEG. So brains are chemical and electricity, and they measure different brainwave states with EEG, how many waves per second. So very, very, very deep dreams, for example, delta is 0.5 to 3, whereas the most excited state we get into is gamma, which is sort of 40 waves per second or more. And this is another interesting thing about liminal dream states, because most brainwave states are marked by a single sine wave, right? So I was just saying 0.5 to 3, 40 or higher. The one of the brainwave states, the one in which we spend most of our sleep and where meditators go, I just mentioned, theta, has 2 sine wave states. But liminal dream states, hypnagogia and hypopnea, have 9. So most other brainwave states measured by scientists are a single sine wave. And yet in these 2 brainwave states, which are by far the short, without training, you can train yourself to locate and linger in liminal dream. And then you can stay there for hours. But without sort of training, without paying attention to it, most of us are only going to spend like 8 or 10 minutes in these states. And yet they are by far the strangest brainwave state.
So explain to me a little bit. I'm a novice here. What do you mean by 9 sine waves instead of just 1?
So for example, right now you and I are having a conversation. We're probably pretty actively engaged in this. So we're probably in a state of beta, right? So we've got something like, maybe 14 to 40 waves per second in the electricity measured in our brains, right? So it's a single sine wave that the EEG is measuring. And everyone knows, like, you think about EEG, you can imagine it's this little wave that's being recorded by a like an arm on paper, an electronic arm on paper. We can all visualize, if you're looking at a chart of brain waves, what a kind of a brain wave looks like, right? So there's a single brainwave that we had that sort of marks what beta is. But if we were in hypnagogia or hypnopomnia, there would be 9 different brainwaves happening simultaneously, not just one.
So like 9 different little arms?
Yes, exactly. Like 9 different. If you went online and because it isn't done with the little arms anymore. That's kind of a. But if you go online and you look at brainwave charts, you'll see that you'll see, oh, look, there's beta, there's the one sine wave that shows the beta, there's alpha, there's the one sine wave that shows the alpha. We're in hypnagogia, and there's 9 of them. It's very, very chaotic brainwave state, and so when your arm jerks or your leg jerks, that's when that's called a myoclonic jerk or a hypnic jerk. And when that happens, you're in hypnagogia, and kind of your body is doing the same thing that your mind does. It's sort of this chaotic jerking around.
So like when you see dogs running after the rabbit in their sleep, that's what they're doing.
But yeah, potentially, although they also might be in REM. So little is understood about dreams. It's so poorly studied, and people do study to a certain degree. Like lucid dreaming has had some studies. REM dreams have had a little bit of study, but really not a lot. People study sleep, but not really dreams. And when you think about it, it was only the 1950s that Western science ever put 2 and 2 together of, oh yeah, when people's eyes are moving and they're asleep, they're dreaming. So REM, and that was Azarinsky kind of discovering that REM sleep was a sleep in which we're dreaming, but there really very little is known about it.
Well, we spoke of Edgar Cayce earlier. What do Thomas Edison and Salvador Dali have in common in regards to dreams?
So, again, partly because I think you're accessing the visionary space of the unconscious while the rational mind remains online. A lot of inventions and artists' work, what have you, have been conceived in hypnagogia. In addition to Dali and Edison, I'll get to that in a second. Kekulé conceived of the benzene ring in a hypnagogic state. The periodic table of elements was conceived in a hypnagogic state. Louis Agassiz figured out how to chip away stone to find fossils in a hypnagogic state. Independently of each other, Salvador Dali and Thomas Edison invented the same hypnagogic liminal dream exercise for tapping the state for creativity and problem solving. And it's how Salvador Dali came up with a lot of his ideas for art, and how Thomas Edison came up with a lot of his inventions, which is amazing because Thomas Edison invented an enormous amount of what we use in our daily lives. And what they would do...
How do we know that they were in a hypnagogic state?
Because of this exercise that they developed, which was pointedly to use hypnagogia. And what they would do is they would each put metal plates on the ground, and when feeling sleepy, would sit back in a very comfortable chair. And Thomas Edison held a ball in each hand, and Salvador Dali held a big brass Spanish key in one hand. And they would sit back and then close their eyes and drift into a hypnagogic state. So when you close your eyes and you drift off into that initial dream state, that's hypnagogia. And they would drift in hypnagogia, and then as soon as I started to fall asleep, coming out the other side of the hypnagogic state, they would naturally drop whatever they were holding. It would hit the metal plates on the ground. Edison kept a notepad and pen and paper, and Dali kept a sketch pad. And Edison would just immediately start to write out ideas, and Dali would start to sketch. So basically, whatever ideas came to them in the hypnagogic state would document, and that was how they mined their own consciousness and experience to come up with, inventions and art. And as I say, scientists and thinkers of various sorts have been using this practice forever, and anybody can do it.
Well, we've got all sorts of rabbit holes we can go down here.
Yeah.
So I'll go to bed at night because I write and bring stuff through that way. I'll go to bed at night with a class on my mind that I'm going to be teaching the following weekend. And I always have to take pencil and paper to bed with me because I wake up and have the inspiration of how the class is going to go, what I'm going to teach, what I'm going to bring forward, and jot it down. And I wake up in the morning, don't even remember having done it. I remember I wrote something, but I don't remember what it was. But when I put it together, it's extremely logical and well put together. And it's like, there's the lesson plan, and I did it in my sleep. Are we talking the same state there?
I think often, yes. And I do exactly the same thing that you do, except I use a voice-activated recorder because you can buy a phone app and you can keep it next to you. And it only records when you start making noise. And so I keep it next to me when I'm falling asleep, especially when I'm falling asleep or for when I'm waking up in the morning, because sometimes even reaching for pen and paper can be enough to chase the ideas away. And as soon as I kind of come to, I just start talking. And I have the same experience that you have. In fact, I come up with a lot of the talks that I give. I also am writing. I come up with a lot of my writing and talks that I'm giving in states through the voice-activated recorder. So yeah, for sure.
Fascinating. And we just let this go by and never tap into it unless we train ourselves, right?
Exactly. And as you said at the beginning of the hour, everybody is a natural liminal dreamer. Everybody has this experience. And often when I'm giving workshops or classes and I start by explaining what liminal dreaming is, that half dream, swirling, free associative experience that you have as you're falling asleep, or that very drifty back and forth between thought and dream experience as you're waking up, or as you're often for people, it's when you're fighting to stay awake that you go into the hypnagogic state. And everyone nods. Yeah, of course I have that experience. I never thought of it as a thing. It never occurred to me to stop there and look around and pay attention to what's happening. And yet it's been tapped by people for, as you said, thousands of years back through, shamanic traditions. People have been tapping and making use of this space.
Well, we have so many more exciting places we can go. We're going to have to take a quick break, but on the other side, we'll continue to explore the dreamscape. It is time for a short pause. Jennifer and I will return to our discussion on the other side of this break. You stay right there. This is Mission Evolution Radio Show. We're coming to you on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
How would your life change if you could develop the business and personal skills that you need in order to make more money? Do you want to learn how to achieve your big life goals faster? Then go to findhiddenmoney.com and get the Goal for It online course. The course teaches you how you can set and achieve your biggest goals while completely overcoming the roadblocks to your goals so that you can realize your dreams and imagine more success. Go to findhiddenmoney.com.
Memorable dynamic presentations are a not-so-secret weapon in the business world. Do you have a powerful message that must be shared, but you haven't found a way to deliver that message? Do you want to be known as a top public speaker who gets amazing results? Are you ready to create and deliver your powerful message? Thomas Hides can help you create and deliver your speech to get the results you desire. Visit iconquality.com.
Did you expect your business to flourish, but instead it plateaued or didn't get off the ground yet? Would you like to achieve massive goals and discover new sources of income within your business? When you're ready to experience that type of success with fast results, Cindy Hendricks is the business coach for you. Her work with entrepreneurs and business owners has been life-changing. To get you and your business where you want to be, go to imaginemoresuccess.com.
Has the fear of public speaking stalled your business or personal life? What would you give to develop and maintain supreme confidence? Have an invaluable private program to always perform at your best. Imagine how you would feel. You can have all that and so much more today with Thomas Hyde's life-changing course called Number One Fear Unleashed. Visit numberonefear.com and be liberated from your fear of public speaking.
Welcome back. This is the Mission Evolution Radio Show, missionevolution.org, bringing leading-edge information supporting the path to enlightenment. We're speaking with Jennifer Dumpert. Her website, urbandreamscape.com. Jennifer, we started talking about something and then kind of moved on because we got distracted a little bit. But I ask you if not only can we get information from the dreamscape we're talking about, but can we affect change in the world from that place? And you said we could, and then we had to take a break. So would you mind going into that a little?
Sure. There's so much that's going on in this state. And I think if we learn to go into it and listen to our own minds and delve into our own unconscious, we're also learning a different way of approaching the world. And this is a little tricky to kind of describe. But I have an idea in the book that I call liminal mind. And really, by liminal mind, what I mean is learning to sort of locate yourself in the neither here nor there, and both here and there. I mean, we're all always having the experience, for example, where we're creating the world through which we walk. You know, a city that I'm in has my own associations, has my own memories sort of superimposed onto it. So I am to a certain degree moving through a world that I am co-creating. And it's a thing that we don't really think about. And I think when you learn to go into these liminal dream spaces, you really learn to relate to the world in a different kind of way. And I also think by bringing these kinds of practices to the fore, by teaching people to go into these liminal spaces, to go into dream spaces, you know, so much of the world is in the grip of the materialistic, rational, forward mind, waking, goal-oriented mode that is part of the problems that I think we have in the world. And I think when we teach people a little bit more to emphasize the unconscious realms, the other realms, the in-between realms, then maybe we would change that worldview such that we would, we would start to bring forward things that are a little bit more important in the daily world.
You know, there's been lots of examples, and you gave one with Thomas and Salvador. But there's been lots of examples of people on different parts of the planet coming up with very similar things that are very brand new and leading edge at the same time. Do you think that through this form of dreaming, they're actually accessing a more universal information?
Yeah, that's a great question. And a lot, so I have my dream group, the Oneironauticum, which is so difficult to pronounce. When I originally came up with that group, it was just a thing for my friends. And then I this was like 11 years ago, and I was tracking it online, and just in the way of the World Wide Web, somebody discovered the site, and it became a very popular thing. So that's why it has that ridiculous name. But people around the world are participating in my worldwide dream experiments for a lot of different reasons. One of them is to go into dream realms and try to have common experience, kind of, go into this common realm. And of course, Jung thought, and for Jung, like active imagination practice is definitely a liminal dream practice. And he thought that in the unconscious and especially in these liminal dream realms where we can, with the waking mind, see what's happening in the unconscious, that was partly cultural. It's not, so yes, it's what's happening in your dream space is your own personal experience, but it's also the experience of your tribe, and then farther out your culture, and then farther out humanity. I think in realms where we're kind of letting go of our materialistic mindset to a certain degree, then we do get to a place that's connected. And you can have experiences talking to people, or people talking to each other in liminal dream spaces, and going to amazing places. So yeah.
And do the people have recall, like the conversation actually went on, and how are you experimenting with this?
Often, sometimes yeah, and sometimes no. So I have definitely experimented with both talk. So myself, I've taught myself how to talk actually while I'm in a liminal dream space. So I can go into hypnagogia or be in hypnopomnia and still stay asleep and mumble into a voice-activated recorder. Or I can, even if I'm only a little bit in hypnagogia, touch type on my computer and sort of be talking from the other side of a hypnagogic experience. But you can actually also talk to people in hypnagogia and ask them questions, and they'll respond. They don't often necessarily remember that they had this experience, but they sometimes will remember a little bit. I had an amazing experience a couple years ago where my aunt, to whom I was extremely close, was dying, and I was sitting by her deathbed. And after she had passed the realm of waking daytime consciousness, where we could have conversations, she was still able to talk, and I realized that she was in a hypnagogic state. And because I have practiced talking to people in hypnagogia, I was able to talk to her, and she would answer me. And then from there, she passed beyond the place where she could speak, and that was the last that she ever said. And I later found out that she died in a hospice where the director of the hospice, a guy named Dr. Christopher Kerr, is actually talking about the fact that people who are dying are in liminal dream states, that the final stage between life and death for many people is a liminal dream state. And the Tibetan Buddhists, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's interesting because, again, in Tibetan Buddhism and in shamanism, when we help the dead to cross, or particularly when they're dying, and we help the dying to go across the other side, it is walking them through the dream states.
That's exactly right. The psychopomp, the role of the psychopomp is the ability to navigate a liminal dream space, and that was one of the really amazing realizations to me after I started doing this work.
And it's been around for how long?
Yeah.
How helpful will that be in hospice and every place else if people were trained in being able to manage this?
I know when I, right now I'm doing, having written the book, and I'm doing book tour and doing a lot of those things. And I've been thinking about, once I'm done with book tour, and, what are some of the projects I want to undertake. And one of them is trying to figure out how to teach people about using these spaces in terms of helping to walk the dying through this final journey that we all take. That we, in this life, through this final journey that we all take, crossing the realms, and some sort of like guides to help people understand what it is, ways to talk to people who are in this space, and ways to, one of the great, I feel, like reasons to start to learn to navigate one's own liminal dream space, one's own hypnagogia and hypopnea, is so that when we will all go through the dying process ourselves, and the idea that you would have some practice navigating these realms for when you go through it yourself is certainly very appealing to me.
Absolutely. Do we dream differently at different ages? I mean, we see little infants as they're here and they spend a lot of time in the dream space, and then the elders start to spend a lot of time in the dream space. Would you speak to what it's like, how dreaming changes with the different ages?
Yeah, and that's really a fascinating question. So in the womb, fetuses in the womb are in REM the vast majority of the time. So they're dreaming, what one wonders. Newborns, as anybody who has children know, spend an enormous amount of time in REM, and potentially a lot of time in liminal dream space. Of course, we don't it's impossible to know what the subjective experience is of a newborn. But one of the leading experts in the dreams of children, a guy named David Folks, feels when as soon as he has been able to, figure out what very young children are dreaming of, the dreams that they describe seem a lot more like hypnagogic dreams. As opposed to REM dreams, the quality of REM dreams is such that it's still like daytime experience, and that you're still moving through a world having experiences. It's just that they're very weird experiences because you're in REM. Whereas in liminal dream spaces, often you aren't necessarily there. It's just the unfolding moment of the dream. It's not like you're in a world having experiences. It's this kaleidoscopic, free-form unfurling of a dream. So it may be that very small children and very old people are having much more of that experience. We all have much longer circadian rhythms when we're younger. We all sleep more when we're younger and sleep less the older that we get. And the less you sleep, the less REM dream you have. That's just a fact. So we all have REM dreams. We all have fewer REM dreams the older we get. Some of us have naturally more or less, depending on our circadian rhythm. But dreaming definitely, our REM dreaming changes the older we get, and sort of the natural amount that we're in hypnagogic. So we have less REM and more liminal dream, kind of the older we get, and for very young people as well.
Fascinating. Well, we're going to have to pick up again on the other side of a commercial break. Jennifer and I will be back shortly, so don't leave us now. This is Mission Evolution Radio Show on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Ellie Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
Christopher Fulton is a survivor of the national security state. All he wanted to do was preserve history when he acquired a Cartier watch from the estate of President Kennedy's personal secretary. But that simple act set off a terrible chain reaction. He was pursued by the U.S. Justice Department and the FBI, thrust into the middle of the U.S. government's Assassination Records Review Board, even monitored and pursued by the Russian government. All because that Cartier watch was the missing link of evidence, a timepiece worn by JFK that fateful day in Dallas, a link resulting in Christopher being incarcerated and attacked for 9 years years because he opened a hidden chapter in history. The intriguing journey outlined fully in Christopher Fulton's memoir, The Inheritance, is available now through TrineDay.com or Amazon.com. The Inheritance, Poisoned Fruit of JFK's Assassination by Christopher and Michelle Fulton is a must-read, an incredible tale of how easily our own government can overrule justice. The Inheritance, Poisoned Fruit of JFK's Assassination.
Welcome back. This is Mission Evolution Radio Show, bringing together gifted people of service to the world. To suggest a topic or guest, email us at info@missionevolution.org. Our guest this hour is Jennifer Dumpert. Her website, urbandreamscape.com. We were talking, Jennifer, about how our sleep style and our dream style changes from one age to the other, from infancy to when we're getting ready to cross. And I was wondering if you know, how does make-believe fit in there? You know, children spend so much time trying out their lives in make-believe space. Is that a dream state of sorts?
It's, the consciousness of children is really so fascinating. And I think that children are definitely a lot closer to something that we were talking about earlier, the ability to slide among different states of consciousness, what they're accessing. I mean, so many of us try to regain the ability to access these kinds of things like we did when we were children. I'm not sure what states necessarily they're in, but I think that the fact that children spin in circles, and roll down hills and truly go into other worlds with make-believe underscores something about the human experience, which is we're really hardwired to experiment with consciousness. We really, humans play with minds, and I think animals do as well. And I think that, and if you look at so much of what we're doing, it is just that. It's experimenting and exploring what's happening within our own consciousness and learning to dabble in liminal dream space or in any kind of dream space is an amazing exploration into what's happening in mind. It's a wonderful way to play with one's own consciousness.
Do you think that our materialistic world and all the conditioning in it actually conditions us out of the things that we came able to do as children, like sliding in and out of liminal dreaming and accessing more creativity?
Absolutely. And if you look at how people talk, so for example, if people are talking about imagination, you just imagined that. Or dream. Oh, that was only a dream. I mean, we really devalue things like imagination and dreams. And yet, the Sufis thought that imagination was a faculty of perception. And because the only way you could experience the divine was through imagination, therefore it was the most important faculty of perception. And that's a faculty of perception that we stop taking seriously as we get older or with our culture.
It makes the statement, be as little children, make a lot more sense, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Imagine if we could all see through those kinds of eyes and approach the world with play like that.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to talk a little bit about PTSD and dreaming. What changes when we're under stress and we have serious anxiety?
So people's dreaming definitely does change when they're under stress and anxiety. People tend to, and during the night, people who have PTSD and stress tend to, their dreams stay more at the forward part of their brain, which is kind of where the planning, goal-oriented is. So like those kinds of dreams where you have to, you're trying to get to your flight, or you realize you never finished high school and you have to go back and take another class or whatever it is. People who have stress have more of those kinds of dreams. But there are also dreams and liminal dreams, partly through yoga nidra practices, and lucid dreams are actually being used to treat people who have PTSD or who also treatments for pain or fear and anxiety. Part of what happens with PTSD is people have nightmares, and learning to teaching people conscious dreaming so they don't have those kinds of experiences, or teaching them to go into the unconscious as one does in a liminal dream space with the conscious mind online in a safe, supported environment allows people to go into where the fear and the pain is, and work through things. So yoga nidra, for example, is a very old yogic practice that brings people into liminal dream spaces. And the I Rest school of yoga nidra is helping soldiers with PTSD, or the yoga nidra network is helping women in childbirth using these states.
You spoke of how when you're in liminal dreaming, you're really not a participant as far as, having, we have dreams and we're in the dream and we're seeing ourselves do this or do that. But liminal dreaming is different. Does that help transcend our lockdown patterns and ego so that we can rearrange the PTSD?
Absolutely. So that's wonderfully said. And both so that you can rearrange the PTSD, and also that's one of the reasons that it's so good for innovative thought or creativity, because you circumvent a lot of the lockdown daytime consciousness.
You're not identified with yourself anymore, and you can access other.
Exactly. And a lot of people use it, as I do, as a form of meditation. So there's, if you're looking at like mindfulness meditation, a lot of it is being aware of the unfolding moment without letting your ego get in the way. And when you're in these spaces, your ego loosens the kind of iron grip that it often has on your experience, and it gives you access to a whole other mode of being in your consciousness.
Amazing. So what's consciousness hacking? Speaking of consciousness.
Well, the consciousness hacking movement is, it started in the Bay Area, sort of around a lot of the technology, but has really spread now around the world. And it's using modern methods to experiment with the mind, but with more of like a spiritual meditative approach. So for example, using modern technology, there's a lot of things like the Muse, or at MIT labs, they're developing technology actually to work with hypnagogia, or binaural beats. There's a lot of technology out there that is used for meditation, used for dream states, and using what we have learned in the modern world, through technology and knowledge, to go in and explore with mind. Because we often think of things like, technology and science as being at odds with meditation and spirituality and these practices of consciousness. And the idea is no, not at all. In fact, that these kinds of forms of information and knowledge only help us in these pursuits.
So like, is biofeedback part of that? I know that was early on.
Yeah, biofeedback is part of that. So, for example, you can use various forms of biofeedback to be aware of what state your mind is. So the Muse is that headset, and it is measuring brainwaves and like letting you know when you're getting closer to that kind of like meditative theta state. And it gives you the feedback of sound. I mean, it can do a lot of different things, but it can give you the feedback of sound. So as you're getting closer to these meditative sounds, you're having more like flowing water sound, for example. So it's using feedback to let you know that you're in these various states, brainwave states, where there's different forms of consciousness. Yeah.
So how are dreams involved in shaping the mind?
Well, so I said earlier that fetuses in the womb are mostly in REM, and infants are largely in REM. Nobody really knows why we dream, but one of the more popular theories at the moment is scientists think that dreams, REM dreams, and probably also liminal dreams, contribute to moving short-term memory into long-term memory. So, moving our daytime experiences, or what happens, or what we're thinking about, whatever it is, into our long-term memory. And when you think about it that way, and in the womb, that's probably what's happening. When you think about it that way, you're actually laying down neural pathways. It's another reason to have conscious dreaming, because you're actually participating in how your brain is forming.
Nice. I like that one. give a little power back instead of being conditioned all the time.
Exactly right.
How can working with our dreams aid spiritual evolution?
I think that some of the reasons that I have mentioned earlier, which is I think it gets past the kind of like Apollonian rational mind culture that so de-emphasizes things like imagination or consciousness exploration. I also think that we learn an enormous amount about our minds and the kinds of experiences that are within our grasp. I mentioned earlier the visionary. I mean, we all have access to visionary experience. It's not just the realm of artists or mediums or whatever. I mean, the visionary world is there for all of us. And as long as we can sort of give ourselves permission and use liminal dreaming is only one method. There are many methods to go into these kinds of experiences and learn that we all have this kind of access. And if people understood the realm, their own capacity for extraordinary, beyond daytime experience, boy, the world would sure be a different place.
It sure would be a different place. Well, I can't thank you enough for this powerful work that you're doing and bringing our creativity back and awareness to it. As always, time has flown and now we're out of it. Thank you so much for being on the show.
It's such a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Our guest this hour has been Jennifer Dumpert, the author of Liminal Dreaming, Exploring Consciousness at the Edges of Sleep. Her website, urbandreamscape.com. For our amazing past episode collection, visit our website, missionevolution.org. This has been Mission Evolution Radio Show with Wilda Wieka on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Join us next time as this mission continues, bringing information, resources, and support to our evolving world.
If you are looking for a safe, zero-calorie, natural option to the harmful artificial sweeteners on the market today, Just Like Sugar is what you're looking for. Just Like Sugar is a wonderful natural alternative for those health-conscious people who choose a calorie-restricted diet with a great, pure, sweet flavor that tastes just like sugar. Just Like Sugar is a great natural option for people suffering from diabetes and may be useful in restricted diet programs where standard sugars are not allowed and does not cause a laxative effect of some other sweeteners. Just Like Sugar comprises a perfect blend of chicory root fiber, natural calcium, natural vitamin C, and Just Like Sugar's sweetness comes from the natural flavors from the peel of the orange. Just Like Sugar is a natural alternative to harmful artificial sweeteners and will change the way that you believe all natural sweetener products taste. Just Like Sugar is available at your local Whole Foods markets, Wild Oats markets, Henry's, Sun Harvest, and many other fine natural food stores in the U.S., Canada, and worldwide.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Ellie Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
You have heard of the X-Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games, No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand, live streaming events from around the world, interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.